Dr. Verathon arrived precisely at the appointed time, her expression unreadable as she entered the apartment. Marcus and Zara had spent the morning carefully packing Marcus's essential possessions into a single travel case. Everything else would have to be left behind. I trust you have reached a decision regarding continued research participation, Dr. Verathon said, settling gracefully into the chair they had prepared for her. We have, Zara replied, maintaining the formal tone appropriate for addressing a superior. However, our decision may surprise you. I am listening. Marcus stepped forward, feeling more confident than he had expected. We've decided that we don't want to be research subjects. Our bonding is too personal and meaningful to be reduced to scientific data points. Dr. Verathon nodded slowly. That is understandable, though disappointing from a research perspective. You will, of course, be free to continue your relationship without interference from the Cultural Exchange Authority. There's more, Zara said quietly. We have decided to leave Earth together. For the first time since Marcus had met her, Dr. Verathon looked genuinely surprised. Leave Earth? That is, highly irregular. No human has ever requested immigration to an Alterian world. Then we'll be the first, Marcus said. Zara has shown me what's possible beyond Earth, and I want to experience it fully. Dr. Verathon studied them both for a long moment, her telepathic abilities undoubtedly analyzing their emotional states and motivations. This decision is final? She asked. Yes, they replied in unison, their mental bond making the simultaneous response natural. Very well, I must admit, your choice is perhaps more valuable to our species' understanding than any research data would have been. How so? Zara asked. Because you will be demonstrating that genuine, lasting bonds between our species are not only possible, but can transcend the boundaries of homeworld loyalty. That is a powerful statement about the potential future of human-Alterian relations. Dr. Verathon activated a small communication device. I am authorizing immediate transport for research specialist Zara Neth and her bonded partner to the Alterian primary colony. They are to be granted full residential status and cultural integration support. Marcus felt a thrill of excitement, mixed with terror. In a few hours, he would leave behind everything familiar and venture into the unknown with only Zara and their bond to guide him. Transport will arrive within 2 hours, Dr. Verathon announced. I suggest you complete any final preparations. As she prepared to leave, Dr. Verathon paused at the door. Marcus Chen, you should know that your decision to bond with one of our people and to leave your homeworld will not be forgotten by either species. You may be surprised by the impact your choice has on the future. After she left, Marcus and Zara completed their final preparations in focused silence. Marcus wrote a letter to his boss explaining his immediate resignation, sent messages to his few close friends about his departure, and transferred his savings to an account that could be accessed from anywhere in the galaxy. The hardest part was the moment when he took one last look around the apartment that had been his home for 3 years. Every familiar object, every ordinary detail that he had taken for granted, now seemed precious because he was seeing it for the last time. Are you experiencing regret? Zara asked, sensing his emotional state through their bond. Nostalgia, Marcus corrected, but not regret. This place was never really home until you moved in. Home is wherever we are together. The transport ship that arrived was unlike anything Marcus had seen in science fiction movies. Rather than a mechanical vessel, it appeared to be a living organism, a graceful, crystalline structure that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns and seemed to breathe as it settled onto the rooftop landing pad that materialized beneath it. Alterian ships are grown rather than built, Zara explained as they approached the craft. They form symbiotic relationships with their crews and passengers. The ship's interior was even more amazing than its exterior. Flowing organic surfaces provided seating and control interfaces that adapted themselves to the occupants' needs. The walls were transparent, offering stunning views of the Earth below as they lifted off and began their journey toward the stars. Marcus watched his home planet shrink away beneath them, feeling a complex mixture of emotions, fear, excitement, anticipation, and wonder all blended together in his enhanced consciousness. No human has ever seen Earth from this perspective as a permanent emigrant, he observed, and no Alterian has ever shared such a moment with a bonded human, Zara replied. We are creating new experiences for both our species. The journey to the Alterian colony took 3 days at faster-than-light speeds. During the trip, Marcus marveled at the ship's living systems and began learning the basics of Alterian language and culture. His enhanced neural capabilities made the learning process remarkably efficient. Concepts that should have taken weeks to master became clear within hours. Your cognitive enhancement is continuing to develop, Zara noted as Marcus successfully navigated a complex linguistic puzzle in record time. By the time we reach our destination, you may be operating at near Alterian levels of mental processing. Will that change who I am fundamentally? Marcus asked. You will remain essentially human, but with capabilities your species has never possessed. You are becoming something new, a bridge between our peoples. On the 3rd day, their destination came into view, a crystalline world that seemed to be made entirely of living light. Cities grew like coral formations across continents of translucent stone, connected by streams of energy that flowed like rivers of pure thought. Welcome to Vega Thera, Zara said softly, my homeworld. As their ship descended toward the surface, Marcus felt the planet's consciousness touch his mind, a vast, gentle intelligence that welcomed him with curiosity and warmth. Through his bond with Zara, he could communicate with this planetary awareness, and he sensed its excitement at hosting the first human resident. The crystalline city where they landed was breathtaking beyond description. Buildings grew organically from the ground, their surfaces shifting colors in response to the emotions of their inhabitants. Citizens moved through the air as easily as walking, supported by the same energy fields that powered their technology. How do you feel? Zara asked as they disembarked from their ship. Marcus took a deep breath of the alien air, feeling it energize every cell in his body. Through his enhanced senses, he could perceive the harmonious patterns underlying everything around him. The mathematical beauty of the architecture, the elegant flow of energy through the city's systems, the warm presence of minds touched with genuine curiosity about his arrival. I feel like I'm home, he said, surprised by the truth of the statement. Not the home I left behind, but the home I was always meant to find. Zara's joy flowed through their bond, amplifying his own sense of rightness about their decision. Then let us begin our new life together. As they walked hand in hand through the crystal streets, Marcus reflected on the incredible journey that had brought him to this moment. What had started as a simple request for research assistance had become something far more profound. A love that transcended species boundaries, and a choice to embrace a future limited only by their imagination. The lonely software developer who had answered an ad for an alien roommate no longer existed. In his place was someone new, a human who had chosen to expand beyond the boundaries of his birth world, bonded permanently to an alien consciousness, and ready to explore possibilities he had never dreamed of. Above them, the alien stars of the Vega system shone down on the first human to make one of their worlds his home, while across the galaxy, both human and Alterian scientists would spend years studying the implications of the bond that had made it all possible. But for Marcus and Zara, walking together through their crystalline city under alien stars, the future stretched ahead filled with infinite possibilities for discovery, growth, and a love that had already proven it could overcome any obstacle. Their story was just beginning. That evening, Marcus and Zara walked through the city park near their apartment, both needing time away from the confines of their home to process the day's revelations. Marcus marveled at how different the world looked through his enhanced perception. He could see the intricate energy patterns of every living thing around them, feel the electromagnetic pulse of the city's infrastructure, and sense the emotional states of people they passed. Your neural development is accelerating beyond all projections, Zara observed as they settled on a bench overlooking a small pond. At this rate, you may surpass baseline human cognitive capabilities within weeks. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Marcus asked, watching ducks glide across the water with enhanced clarity that revealed every detail of their movement patterns. That depends on how you choose to use your new abilities, Zara replied. Enhanced intelligence without wisdom can be dangerous. Marcus turned to study her profile in the fading daylight. What do you think we should do about Dr. Verathon's proposal? I have been considering that question extensively, Zara said. There are compelling arguments on both sides. Through their bond, Marcus could sense the complexity of her thoughts. She was genuinely torn between her scientific training, which valued the advancement of knowledge above personal concerns, and her growing desire to protect the privacy of their relationship. "Talk me through it," Marcus said. "Participating in the research could provide valuable insights that benefit both our species. The data collected from our bonding could help establish protocols for future human-Altarian partnerships, potentially leading to deeper cooperation between our civilizations." That's the pro side. What about the cons? Zara was quiet for a moment, watching the ducks. Becoming research subjects would mean constant monitoring and evaluation. Our most intimate moments would be documented and analyzed. The spontaneous emotional aspects of our relationship would be reduced to scientific data points. Marcus felt a surge of protectiveness through their mental link. The idea of their private bond being dissected by researchers bothered him more than he had expected. "There's another consideration," Zara continued. "If our relationship becomes a model for human-Altarian bonding, we may face pressure to conform to certain expectations or to demonstrate particular outcomes." Political pressure, Marcus realized. We'd become symbols as much as individuals. Precisely. And symbols rarely have the freedom to simply be themselves. They sat in comfortable silence, their minds touching lightly as they contemplated their options. Marcus could feel Zara's consciousness overlaying his own thoughts, adding her perspective to his considerations in a way that felt natural and enriching rather than intrusive. "Can I ask you something personal?" Marcus said. "Everything between us is personal now," Zara replied with gentle humor. "Do you regret the bonding? I mean, knowing what we know now about the complications it's caused?" Zara turned to face him fully, her large eyes reflecting the last light of sunset. "Never. These past few days have been the most meaningful of my existence. Through our bond, I have experienced emotions and sensations that my species cannot naturally access. You have shown me what it means to feel truly alive." Marcus felt a warm surge of reciprocal emotion through their connection. "I feel the same way. But I'm worried about what happens if we become lab rats for the scientific community." "Then perhaps we should consider a third option," Zara said thoughtfully. "Which is? We could leave Earth together." The suggestion hit Marcus like a physical shock. "Leave Earth? And go where?" "My homeworld or one of the other Altarian colonies. With your enhanced capabilities, you would be able to survive and thrive in our environments. And there, our relationship would be viewed as a fascinating anomaly rather than a potential diplomatic tool." Marcus stared at her, his mind racing through the implications. "You're talking about giving up everything I've ever known." "I am talking about choosing freedom over obligation," Zara corrected gently. "But I would never ask you to make such a sacrifice without careful consideration." As they walked home, Marcus found himself seriously contemplating Zara's suggestion. His enhanced consciousness allowed him to model potential futures with startling clarity, weighing the costs and benefits of each choice. Staying on Earth and participating in the research would mean contributing to scientific advancement and potentially helping to shape the future of human-Altarian relations. But it would also mean living under constant scrutiny, with their private life subject to analysis and documentation. Leaving Earth would provide freedom and privacy, but would mean abandoning his career, his few close friendships, and the only world he had ever known. The third option, refusing to participate in research while remaining on Earth, seemed likely to result in continued pressure from both human and Altarian authorities. "I need to sleep on this," Marcus said as they reached their apartment building. "Of course. Though I should mention that my enhanced connection to you makes your decision-making process quite transparent to me." Marcus paused on the front steps. "What do you mean?" "I mean that I can sense which option appeals to you most, even if you haven't consciously acknowledged it yet." "And?" Zara smiled mysteriously. "You are more adventurous than you give yourself credit for." That night, Marcus dreamed of crystalline cities under alien stars, of flying through space surrounded by the warm presence of minds unlike any he had known. When he woke, the decision felt clear. He found Zara in the kitchen, preparing her morning energy supplements with the same precise movements she brought to everything she did. "I've made my choice," he announced. She looked up at him with knowing eyes. "Have you?" "Yes, but first I need to know something. This offer to leave Earth, is it just about escaping the research pressure, or is there more to it?" Zara set down her preparation tools and moved closer to him. "There is more. On my homeworld, bonded pairs like ourselves are revered rather than studied. We would be free to explore the full potential of our connection without external interference. And you want that? To explore our potential? I want to spend my existence learning what it means to be bonded to you, without having that experience filtered through the lens of scientific research. Marcus felt his heart rate increase. Then yes, let's do it. You are certain? Leaving Earth is not a decision you can easily reverse. I'm certain. My life here was already incomplete before I met you. Now that I know what it feels like to be truly connected to someone, I'm not willing to give that up for the sake of scientific progress. Zara's expression shifted to one of pure joy, an emotion so intense that it flowed through their bond and amplified his own happiness. Then we should begin making preparations immediately. Dr. Verathon will return this afternoon for our decision, and it would be best if we were ready to depart quickly. How quickly? Alterian transport ships are remarkably efficient. We could be off-world within hours of making our announcement. Marcus laughed, feeling slightly giddy at the enormity of what they were planning. Yesterday, I was a software developer worried about meeting my project deadlines. Today, I'm planning to immigrate to an alien world with my telepathically bonded partner. Life has a way of exceeding our expectations, Zara agreed. Are you prepared for yours to become truly extraordinary? Marcus pulled her into his arms, feeling their mental connection pulse with shared anticipation and love. With you? I'm ready for anything. As they began making their preparations, Marcus realized that he wasn't running away from responsibility or adventure. He was running toward the most significant relationship of his life and a future that promised wonders beyond his previous imagination. The scared, lonely software developer who had accepted an alien roommate 6 months ago was about to become something entirely new. The human half of an unprecedented interspecies bond, embarking on an adventure that would take him beyond the boundaries of his homeworld and into a life he could never have imagined. Marcus woke up feeling like he had been reborn. His enhanced senses immediately cataloged every detail of his environment. The temperature of the air currents flowing through the apartment, the electromagnetic signatures of nearby devices, even the subtle chemical composition of the morning breeze coming through the window. It was overwhelming and exhilarating at the same time. Beside him, Zara stirred gracefully, her silver hair cascading across the bioresponsive cushions. Through their bond, Marcus could feel her consciousness awakening, along with a sense of deep satisfaction about the success of their integration. "Good morning," she said, though the word seemed almost unnecessary given their mental connection. "Morning," Marcus replied, sitting up slowly. "I feel different, more than I expected." "The neural enhancement is continuing to develop," Zara observed, studying him with scientific interest. "Your cognitive processing speed has increased by approximately 30% since yesterday." Marcus stood and walked to the window, marveling at how his enhanced perception made the familiar cityscape look completely new. He could see patterns in the traffic flow that resembled mathematical equations, detect the subtle electromagnetic signatures of hundreds of electronic devices, and even sense the emotional states of people in nearby buildings. "This is incredible," he said, "but also kind of intense. How do you handle processing this much information all the time?" "Practice and conditioning," Zara replied, joining him at the window. "Your human brain is adapting remarkably quickly, but you may experience some sensory overload until you learn to filter the input." As if summoned by her words, Marcus suddenly felt bombarded by the sheer volume of sensory data flooding his consciousness. The sounds of the city became a cacophonous symphony. The visual details of everything around him sharpened to painful clarity, and the electromagnetic radiation from electronic devices created an uncomfortable buzzing in his skull. "Okay, that's definitely too much," he said, pressing his palms against his temples. Zara immediately moved to his side, placing a calming hand on his shoulder. Through their bond, she shared her techniques for managing sensory input, and gradually the overwhelming flood of information became manageable again. "Better?" she asked. "Much. Thanks." Marcus looked at her with new appreciation. "I'm starting to understand why your species values mental discipline so highly." Their moment of calm was interrupted by a soft chiming sound from one of Zara's communication devices. She frowned as she read the incoming message. "What is it?" Marcus asked, though he could sense her concern through their bond. My research supervisor wishes to conduct an immediate evaluation of our progress. She will arrive within the hour. Marcus felt a spike of anxiety. Is that normal? No. Typically, progress reviews are scheduled well in advance. This suggests either exceptional interest in our results or significant concern about the nature of our research. They spent the next hour preparing the apartment and themselves for the unexpected visit. Zara carefully packed away the crystal array and other obviously alien equipment, transforming the living room back to its normal appearance. Marcus showered and dressed, trying to appear as normal as possible despite the profound changes he could feel continuing to occur within his enhanced nervous system. When the doorbell rang, Marcus opened it to find a tall, elegant Altarian woman who radiated an aura of authority that was immediately apparent even to his newly enhanced senses. She wore flowing robes that seemed to shift color in the light, and her silver hair was arranged in intricate patterns that suggested high rank within Altarian society. Dr. Verathon, Zara said, performing what Marcus recognized as a formal Altarian greeting gesture. Thank you for coming personally. Research Specialist Zaraneth, Dr. Verathon replied, her voice carrying harmonics that human ears couldn't normally detect, but that Marcus now perceived clearly. I trust you will not mind if I conduct my evaluation in the presence of your research subject? Of course not, Zara said, though Marcus could sense her nervousness through their bond. Please come in. Dr. Verathon entered the apartment and immediately focused her attention on Marcus with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Her large, dark eyes seemed to analyze every detail of his appearance and behavior. Fascinating, she said after a moment. The neural enhancement is far more extensive than our projections suggested. You have achieved a level of integration that we believed would require months of gradual conditioning. The subject proved exceptionally compatible, Zara replied carefully. Indeed. Dr. Verathon circled around. Marcus slowly, like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. Tell me, human Marcus, what changes have you experienced since the bonding process? Marcus glanced at Zara before answering. Enhanced sensory perception, increased cognitive processing speed, and improved pattern recognition abilities. Also, a permanent telepathic connection with Zara. Permanent? Dr. Verathon's eyebrows rose slightly. That was not part of the approved research protocol. The bonding process exceeded our expectations, Zara said quickly. The scientific value of the data collected far outweighs any protocol deviations. Dr. Verathon studied them both for a long moment, and Marcus could sense that she was perceiving far more than their surface interactions. I see, she said finally. And would I be correct in assuming that this research has developed emotional complications beyond the scope of pure scientific inquiry? Marcus felt Zara's anxiety spike through their bond. What do you mean? He asked. I mean that you have formed what humans call a romantic attachment, Dr. Verathon said bluntly. Your emotional states are quite obvious to someone with advanced telepathic abilities. The accusation hung in the air between them. Marcus looked at Zara, uncertain how to respond. Yes, Zara said quietly. Our connection has evolved beyond the original research parameters. Dr. Verathon nodded slowly. This presents both opportunities and complications. On one hand, the depth of bonding you have achieved provides unprecedented research data about human-Altarian compatibility. On the other hand, it raises questions about research ethics and the potential for compromised objectivity. What does that mean for us? Marcus asked. It means that your relationship has attracted attention at the highest levels of the cultural exchange authority. There are those who view your bonding as a breakthrough that could revolutionize interspecies cooperation. Others see it as a dangerous precedent that could complicate future research protocols. Marcus felt a chill of apprehension. Are you saying we're in trouble? Not trouble precisely, Dr. Verathon replied. But your case will require careful management. The authority has decided to classify your bonding as a special research project under my direct supervision. What does that involve? Zara asked. Regular monitoring and evaluation to document the long-term effects of your integration. You will also be asked to participate in additional research designed to understand the implications of permanent human-Altarian bonding. Marcus and Zara exchanged glances, communicating volumes through their telepathic link. And if we refuse? Marcus asked. Dr. Verathon's expression softened slightly. You will not be compelled to participate. However, your cooperation would be invaluable to both our species. The knowledge gained from studying your bond could pave the way for deeper cooperation between humans and Alterians. Marcus could feel Zara's conflicted emotions through their connection. Her scientific training made her want to contribute to the research, but she also valued their privacy and autonomy. "Can we have time to discuss this?" Marcus asked. "Of course. I will return tomorrow for your decision." Dr. Verathon moved toward the door, then paused. "I should mention that regardless of your choice regarding further research participation, your bonding has already demonstrated something significant." "Which is?" Zara asked. "That the barriers between our species are not as insurmountable as we previously believed. You have achieved something that many thought impossible, a true melding of human and Alterian consciousness. That accomplishment will have implications far beyond your personal relationship." After Dr. Verathon left, Marcus and Zara sat together on the couch processing what they had learned. "How do you feel about becoming a case study?" Marcus asked. "Conflicted," Zara admitted. "Part of me is excited by the scientific possibilities, but another part values what we have created together and does not want it to be reduced to research data." Marcus took her hand, feeling their mental connection pulse with shared emotion. "Whatever we decide together. That's what being bonded means, right?" Zara smiled, the expression transforming her alien features into something warmly familiar. "Yes, together." As they sat contemplating their uncertain future, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed in just a few days. He had gone from a lonely software developer to half of an unprecedented interspecies bond that could potentially change the relationship between humans and Alterians forever. It was both thrilling and terrifying, but with Zara's consciousness intertwined with his own, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Zara spent the entire next day preparing for what she called the complete neural integration process. Marcus watched with fascination as she transformed their living room into something that looked like a cross between a medical facility and a meditation retreat. Strange crystalline devices appeared from storage containers Marcus hadn't known she possessed. She arranged them in precise geometric patterns around the room, each one emitting a soft, harmonious tone when activated. The lighting dimmed to a warm amber glow that seemed to come from the crystals themselves rather than the apartment's normal fixtures. "The harmonic resonance will help synchronize our neural patterns," Zara explained as she made minute adjustments to the crystal positions. "It reduces the shock to your nervous system and makes the bonding process more comfortable." Marcus sat on the couch trying to calm his nerves. "How long will the process take?" "Several hours for the initial bonding. The deeper integration will continue over the following days." Zara paused in her work to look at him seriously. "Are you having second thoughts?" "There is no shame in reconsidering." "No," Marcus said firmly. "I want this. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." It was true. The brief taste of enhanced consciousness he had experienced the day before had left him craving more. But beyond that, there was something about Zara herself that drew him in. Her intelligence, her curiosity about human nature, the way she had gradually opened up to him over the months they had lived together. He realized he had been falling for her long before she made her research proposal. "Very well," Zara said, completing her preparations. "We should begin while the harmonic field is at optimal resonance." She moved to the center of the crystal array and gestured for Marcus to join her. The floor had been covered with what looked like a combination of pillows and some kind of bioresponsive material that seemed to adjust its firmness and temperature. "Automatically, the process will be most effective if we maintain close physical contact throughout," Zara said, settling gracefully onto the prepared surface. "Are you comfortable with this level of intimacy?" Marcus lay down beside her, their bodies touching along their sides. "Yes, I trust you." "Then we begin." Zara placed her hand on Marcus's chest directly over his heart. Her skin felt warm despite its pale blue color, and he could feel a subtle vibration emanating from her palm. "Close your eyes and focus on your breathing," she instructed. "I will gradually lower my mental barriers and begin the synchronization process." Marcus followed her instructions, letting his breathing slow and deepen. The crystal harmonies seemed to resonate in his bones, creating a sense of deep relaxation he had never experienced before. The first change was subtle, a slight tingling where Zara's hand touched his chest. Then the sensation began to spread, flowing through his body like warm honey. His consciousness started to expand beyond the boundaries of his physical form. "I can sense your neural patterns responding." Zara's voice came to him telepathically. "Your mind is more receptive than I anticipated. This is remarkable." Marcus felt his awareness melding with hers in stages. First came the enhanced sensory perception he had experienced during their preliminary contact, but magnified tenfold. He could feel the electromagnetic fields generated by every piece of technology in the building, sense the life forces of plants and animals for blocks around them, perceive spectrums of light his human eyes couldn't normally detect. "This is how you always experience the world?" he asked through their growing mental link. "A portion of it, yes, but you are showing me aspects of human perception I had never understood before." Through their connection, Marcus could feel Zara experiencing emotions with an intensity her species rarely encountered. She was overwhelmed by the raw emotional richness of human consciousness, the way feelings could shift rapidly, overlap and contradict each other in beautiful chaos. As the bonding deepened, their memories began to intermingle. Marcus found himself reliving Zara's childhood on her crystalline homeworld, feeling the deep contentment of shared consciousness that was natural to her species. In return, Zara experienced Marcus's human memories, the pain of his parents' divorce when he was 12, the joy of his first programming breakthrough, the loneliness that had driven him to accept an alien roommate. "Your species experiences such intense individual suffering," Zara observed with wonder. "Yet this isolation also creates a capacity for empathy and connection that we lack. And your species has a natural peace and understanding that we're always searching for," Marcus replied. The exchange continued for hours. Marcus felt his consciousness expanding in ways he couldn't have imagined. Mathematical concepts that had always been abstract became as natural as breathing. He could suddenly perceive quantum interactions at the subatomic level and understand the elegant patterns underlying physical reality. But the most profound change was emotional. As his mind merged more completely with Zara's, Marcus felt a deep peace settling over him. The constant low-level anxiety and restlessness that had been his normal state for as long as he could remember simply evaporated. "The primary bonding phase is complete," Zara announced, though Marcus felt the statement as much as heard it. "How do you feel?" Marcus took inventory of his transformed consciousness. His thinking was faster and clearer than ever before. His perception of the world around him was richer and more detailed. Most importantly, he felt a deep connection to Zara that went beyond anything he had experienced with another person. "I feel whole," he said, "like I've been living my entire life with part of myself missing and now it's been restored." "I experience a similar sensation," Zara agreed. "Your emotional depth has added dimensions to my consciousness I did not know were possible." They lay together in the crystal array as the bonding effects continued to integrate into their nervous systems. Marcus could feel changes occurring at the cellular level as his brain developed new neural pathways to accommodate his enhanced abilities. "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now we rest while the integration completes. Tomorrow we will need to report the results to my research supervisors. Will they be satisfied with what we've achieved?" Marcus felt Zara's amusement through their bond. "I believe they will be quite surprised by the extent of successful integration. Most of our projections suggested such a deep bond would take weeks to achieve, if it were possible at all. So this is unusual, even by Altarian standards?" "Highly unusual. Your neural compatibility is extraordinary. I suspect my supervisors will want to study our bond extensively." Marcus considered this. "Will that be a problem for you? I mean, will they disapprove of how personal this has become? Initially, perhaps. But the scientific value of our connection will ultimately override any concerns about research protocols." As they settled into a comfortable embrace, Marcus marveled at how natural it felt despite the alien nature of what they had just experienced. Through their bond, he could sense Zara's contentment and satisfaction, along with deeper feelings that mirrored his own growing affection. "Zara," he said softly, "yes? I think I'm falling in love with you." Through their mental connection, he felt her surprise, followed by a warm surge of reciprocal emotion. "I believe I am experiencing the human phenomenon you call love as well. It is far more intense and beautiful than our clinical studies suggested." Marcus smiled, holding her closer. "Your research is about to get a lot more interesting." "Indeed it is," Zara agreed, her telepathic voice filled with anticipation, though I suspect we have moved far beyond the realm of pure research. As they drifted toward sleep, their consciousness still partially merged, Marcus reflected on how dramatically his life had changed. A week ago, he had been a lonely software developer living a quiet, predictable existence. Now he was permanently bonded to an alien researcher, his mental capabilities enhanced beyond human norms, and experiencing a form of love deeper than anything he had imagined possible. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and complications, but for now, he was content to rest in the arms of his alien partner, their minds touching in ways that transcended the boundaries between species. 3 days passed in a strange, tension-filled routine. Marcus found himself hyper-aware of Zara's presence in ways he had never been before. When she emerged from her meditation chamber each morning, when she prepared her unusual meals that seemed to consist mainly of energy supplements and synthesized proteins, when she settled onto the couch to watch human documentaries with intense fascination, everything felt charged with new meaning. Marcus had called in sick to work, claiming he needed time to deal with a personal situation. It wasn't entirely a lie. He spent the days researching everything he could find about interspecies relationships, neural enhancement, and the long-term effects of alien contact on human psychology. Most of what he found was either highly technical scientific papers or wild conspiracy theories. Neither provided the practical guidance he desperately needed. On Thursday evening, Marcus was attempting to focus on a freelance coding project when Zara approached him with something he had never seen before: uncertainty. "I have been reconsidering my request," she said, settling gracefully into the chair across from his desk. Marcus looked up from his computer. "Oh, I have observed your behavior over the past few days. You appear distressed and your sleep patterns have become irregular. I am concerned that my proposal has caused you psychological harm." Marcus saved his work and turned to face her fully. "It's not harm exactly. It's just complex. You're asking me to make a decision that could change everything about my life, and I'm not sure I fully understand all the implications." Zara nodded slowly. "Perhaps I have been too focused on my research objectives and insufficient consideration for your emotional well-being. This is a failing on my part." "It's not a failing," Marcus said quickly. "You're being honest about what you need. I appreciate that, even if it's complicated. Nevertheless, I wish to offer you an alternative proposal." Marcus leaned forward. "I'm listening. What if we approach this gradually? Rather than the full neural bonding experience, we could begin with preliminary contact. This would allow you to experience a limited version of Alterian sensory sharing without the intensity or permanence of a complete bond." "What would that involve exactly?" Zara extended her hand, palm up. "Simple physical contact while I lower my mental barriers partially. You would experience enhanced sensation and possibly glimpses of my thought patterns, but nothing overwhelming or lasting." Marcus stared at her outstretched hand. The pale blue skin seemed to shimmer slightly, and he could see delicate patterns beneath the surface that reminded him of circuit boards made of light. "And this would give you the research data you need?" "It would provide preliminary data, yes. If the experience is positive for both of us, we could consider progressing further. If not, we could conclude the research at that point with no lasting effects." The offer was reasonable, Marcus had to admit. It addressed his concerns about diving into something completely unknown, while still helping Zara with her research needs. "What would I actually experience?" he asked. "Enhanced physical sensation, improved perception of your environment, and possibly brief flashes of my memories or emotions. Think of it as temporarily borrowing aspects of Alterian consciousness." Marcus studied her face, looking for any sign of deception or hidden agenda. All he saw was genuine concern for his welfare combined with scientific curiosity. "You really think this could help me?" "The neural enhancement thing? I believe it would demonstrate the potential benefits, yes. Even limited exposure to Alterian neural patterns has been shown to have positive effects on human cognitive function." Marcus made his decision with the same quick instinct that had led him to accept Zara as a roommate in the first place. Sometimes you had to trust your gut and take calculated risks. "Okay," he said, reaching out slowly toward her extended hand. "Let's try it." The moment their skin made contact, Marcus felt a jolt of electricity run up his arm. But it wasn't painful. It was energizing, like suddenly being plugged into a power source he hadn't known he needed. "Relax," Zara said softly, her voice seeming to come from both outside and inside his head. "Allow your mind to open." Marcus felt a tingling sensation spread from the point of contact throughout his body. The apartment around him suddenly seemed incredibly detailed and vivid. He could see dust motes dancing in the air, hear the subtle electrical hum of every device in the room, feel the texture of his chair against his skin with startling clarity. Then came the flashes of memory that weren't his own. A vast crystalline city under alien stars. The feeling of flying through space without a ship, surrounded by the warm presence of other minds. Scientific concepts that his human brain couldn't quite grasp, but that felt beautiful and elegant nonetheless. "Fascinating," he heard Zara's voice, though her lips weren't moving. "Your neural patterns are remarkably adaptable. Most humans require extensive preparation for even this level of contact." Marcus tried to respond and discovered he could project his thoughts directly to her. "This is incredible. Is this how you experience the world all the time?" "A simplified version, yes. Your consciousness is naturally more compatible with ours than our scientists predicted." The sensations continued to build gradually. Marcus felt his thinking becoming clearer and faster. The coding problem he had been struggling with earlier suddenly presented several obvious solutions. Mathematical relationships that had always been difficult for him now seemed elegant and intuitive. "The enhancement effect is occurring more rapidly than anticipated," Zara observed, and Marcus could sense her excitement alongside his own. "Your neuroplasticity is exceptional." As the minutes passed, Marcus became aware of Zara's emotions more clearly. Beneath her scientific fascination, he sensed genuine affection for him, along with something deeper that felt like longing. She had been isolated among humans for months, studying them but never truly connecting with anyone. The contact they were sharing now was as meaningful for her as it was transformative for him. "I can feel what you're feeling," Marcus said, amazed. "You've been lonely." "Yes," Zara admitted. "My species values intellectual connection above all else. Living among humans whose thoughts I cannot naturally access has been more isolating than I expected. And now I feel less alone than I have in months." The realization hit Marcus with surprising force. This wasn't just about research or neural enhancement. Zara had been seeking genuine connection, and he had been unconsciously craving the same thing. His relationships with other humans had always felt somehow incomplete, as if he were holding back parts of himself. With Zara, even in this limited contact, he felt fully understood and accepted. "What happens if we take this further?" Marcus asked. "The bond would deepen significantly. We would share not just surface thoughts and sensations, but memories, personality traits, even aspects of each other's identity. It would be irreversible." "Irreversible how?" "We would remain connected on some level permanently. Not constantly aware of each other's thoughts, but able to sense each other's emotional states and general well-being across any distance." Marcus considered this as enhanced sensations continued to flood through him. The idea of permanent connection with Zara didn't frighten him as much as it probably should have. If anything, it felt like something he had been searching for without knowing it. "The preliminary contact is concluding," Zara announced. "Are you prepared for separation?" "Not really," Marcus admitted, surprised by his reluctance to lose the connection. Gradually, the enhanced sensations faded, leaving Marcus feeling strangely empty. The apartment looked ordinary again. His thinking returned to normal human speeds, and the warm presence of Zara's consciousness withdrew from his mind. They sat in silence for several minutes, still holding hands, both processing what had just occurred. "That was," Marcus began, then trailed off, lacking adequate words. "I know," Zara said softly. "For me as well." Marcus looked into her large, dark eyes and saw his own wonder reflected there. "I want to do the full bonding. Are you certain? Once we begin the complete process, there will be no reversing it." Marcus squeezed her hand gently. "I'm certain." "When do we start?" Marcus couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned in his bed, his mind racing with questions and scenarios. Every time he closed his eyes, he pictured Zara's serene face as she had made her impossible request. By 4 a.m, he gave up trying to sleep and padded to the kitchen to make coffee. The apartment felt different somehow, charged with an energy that hadn't been there before. He could hear the soft humming that emanated from Zara's meditation chamber, a sound that usually comforted him but now made him hyper-aware of her presence just down the hall. As the coffee maker gurgled to life, Marcus pulled out his laptop and did what any modern human would do when faced with an unprecedented situation. he researched. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he searched for information about Alterian-human interactions, biological compatibility, and anything else that might help him understand what Zara was proposing. The official First Contact archives were extensive but clinical. The Alterians had approached Earth 5 years ago with peaceful intentions, offering technological advancement in exchange for cultural knowledge. They were a highly advanced species from the Vega system, with lifespans that stretched for centuries and technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. What Marcus found interesting was how little information existed about intimate relationships between the species. There were mentions of cultural exchange programs and deep anthropological studies, but nothing specific about what Zara was suggesting. Either it was highly classified or she was pioneering entirely new research territory. "You are awake early," came Zara's voice from behind him. Marcus nearly spilled his coffee. "Seriously, do you take classes in sneaking up on people?" "Apologies. My species naturally moves with minimal sound production. It is an evolutionary adaptation." Zara moved to the kitchen counter, her tall frame making the apartment feel smaller. "You appear to be researching something of importance." Marcus turned his laptop screen toward her. "I'm trying to understand exactly what you're asking me to do, and more importantly, what it means for both of us." Zara examined the screen, her large eyes scanning the text rapidly. "Your research sources are limited. Much of the information regarding Alterian physiology and interpersonal bonding is restricted to scientific personnel only. Can you fill in the gaps?" Zara moved to the window, gazing out at the pre-dawn city. "What would you like to know?" Marcus joined her at the window, maintaining a careful distance. "Everything. If I'm going to consider this, I need to understand what I'm getting into." "Very well." Zara turned to face him directly. "Alterians do not reproduce in the manner humans do. Our species creates offspring through a mental bonding process that can take place over great distances. Physical intimacy serves a different purpose for us, which is neural synchronization and energy exchange. When Alterians engage in what you might call intimate contact, we share not just physical sensations but also memories, emotions, and life experiences. It creates a temporary bond that can last for days or even weeks." Marcus felt his coffee mug grow heavy in his hands. "You're talking about a psychic connection. The term psychic is imprecise but not entirely incorrect. We possess natural telepathic abilities that are greatly enhanced during intimate contact. For humans who lack these natural neural pathways, the experience would be unprecedented and potentially dangerous." Zara shook her head. "Our medical experts have studied human neural patterns extensively. The process would cause no permanent damage and might actually enhance certain aspects of human cognitive function." Marcus set down his coffee and ran a hand through his hair. "Zara, what you're describing sounds less like a research project and more like, I don't know, some kind of alien abduction scenario." "I understand your concern," Zara said, her voice taking on a gentler tone. "But consider this, you have lived with me for 6 months. Have I ever shown any inclination toward deception or harm?" Marcus had to admit she had a point. Zara had been nothing but honest and considerate since moving in. She paid her share of expenses on time, kept the apartment clean, and had even helped him debug particularly challenging code problems with her advanced mathematical abilities. "No," he admitted, "you've been a great roommate. Then trust that I would not propose something that would cause you harm." Zara moved closer, and Marcus caught a scent like ozone and flowers. "Additionally, there are practical benefits I have not yet mentioned, such as the neural enhancement effect I mentioned would likely improve your cognitive abilities permanently. Faster processing speed, enhanced memory retention, improved pattern recognition. For someone in your profession, these improvements would be considerable." Marcus stared at her. "You're talking about making me smarter." "Significantly smarter, yes, though the enhancement would be gradual and natural, not a sudden dramatic change." The offer was tempting in ways Marcus hadn't expected. As a software developer, he was always looking for ways to improve his skills and thinking speed. The idea of actual neural enhancement was something out of science fiction. "What about the emotional aspect?" Marcus asked. "You mentioned that Alterians experience something like attraction. If we do this and you end up sharing my memories and emotions, that is a valid concern," Zara acknowledged. "Human emotions are far more intense and chaotic than Alterian feelings. The experience of accessing your emotional landscape would be educational for me. Educational, Marcus repeated with a wry smile. You make it sound like you're studying a particularly interesting specimen. Something shifted in Zara's expression, a subtle change that made her seem less alien and more vulnerable. That is not entirely accurate. Over the past months, I have developed what humans might call affection for you. Your kindness, your curiosity, your willingness to accept me despite our differences. These qualities are appealing to me. Marcus felt something flutter in his chest. Are you saying you like me? In a romantic way? I am saying that the prospect of sharing a deep connection with you is not merely academic curiosity. There is a personal element that I find compelling. The admission changed everything. What had started as a bizarre research request was becoming something far more complex. Marcus realized that his own feelings toward Zara had evolved over their months together. Her intelligence, her unique perspective on human culture, even her otherworldly beauty, he had grown attracted to her without fully acknowledging it. If I agree to this, Marcus said slowly, what happens afterward? Between us, I mean. That would depend on the nature of the bond we form, Zara replied. Some connections are temporary and fade naturally. Others create lasting links between individuals. There is no way to predict which outcome would occur. Marcus walked back to the kitchen counter, his mind spinning with possibilities and implications. He thought about his quiet, predictable life and how Zara had already changed it simply by being there. Now she was offering to change it in ways he couldn't even fully comprehend. I need more time, he said finally. Of course, though I should mention that my research supervisor will be conducting a progress review in 10 days. If I have no data to present by then, they may reassign me to a different project. Different project meaning? I would likely be transferred to another research facility, possibly off-world. The thought of Zara leaving hit Marcus harder than he expected. Somewhere along the way, she had become more than just a roommate. She was a friend, a confidant, and apparently something more complicated that he was only beginning to understand. I'll give you an answer soon, Marcus promised. As Zara glided back toward her room, she paused at the doorway. Marcus, whatever you decide, I want you to know that these months living with you have been the most fascinating and enjoyable period of my research assignment. After she left, Marcus stood alone in the kitchen, watching the sun rise over the city. His life was about to change dramatically one way or another. The only question was whether he would be brave enough to take the leap into the unknown. Marcus Chen stared at his computer screen, the blue glow reflecting off his tired eyes as he finished another late-night coding session. The apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of the air conditioning and the occasional clicking of his mechanical keyboard. He stretched his arms above his head, feeling the familiar ache in his shoulders from hunching over his desk for hours. Human Marcus, came a melodic voice from behind him, causing him to nearly jump out of his chair. He spun around to see Zara standing in the doorway of his bedroom. Even after 6 months of living together, he still wasn't used to how silently she could move. The Alterian stood nearly 7 feet tall, her pale blue skin shimmering slightly under the apartment's LED lights. Her large, dark eyes reflected an intelligence that sometimes made Marcus feel like a child being studied by a professor. Jesus, Zara, you scared me, Marcus said, placing a hand over his racing heart. I thought you were in your meditation chamber. Zara tilted her head, a gesture she had picked up from observing humans. Her silver hair, which seemed to move on its own like it was underwater, swayed gently. I have completed my evening neural alignment. I require your assistance with a matter of significant importance. Marcus saved his work and turned his chair to face her fully. In the months they had been roommates, Zara had asked for help with various human customs and technologies. She was part of an Alterian cultural exchange program, studying human behavior and society. The arrangement worked well for both of them. She helped pay the rent with her research stipend, and he got to learn about alien culture firsthand. Sure, what do you need help with this time? Marcus asked, expecting another question about human social media or why humans consumed alcohol. Zara moved closer, her movements graceful and deliberate. My research supervisors have assigned me a new study focus. I must observe and document human mating behaviors and rituals. Marcus felt his cheeks grow warm. Oh, okay. That's pretty normal research, I guess. Anthropologists study that stuff all the time. Indeed, Zara continued, seemingly unaware of Marcus's discomfort. However, my supervisors require more than theoretical observation. They have determined that the most effective method of understanding human mating behaviors is through direct participation and experience. The room suddenly felt much smaller. Marcus cleared his throat. Right, so you'll need to observe couples? Maybe visit some clubs or dating apps? Zara's large eyes focused intently on him. Negative. My research parameters specify that I must engage in the mating ritual myself, with a human subject who is familiar and comfortable with my presence. The data collected from such an interaction would be far more valuable than distant observation. Marcus felt his mouth go dry. And you're telling me this because you are the optimal candidate, Zara stated matter-of-factly. You have adapted well to my presence, show no signs of xenophobia, and demonstrate above-average emotional stability. Additionally, our living arrangement provides a controlled environment for the study. The silence stretched between them as Marcus processed what she was saying. His mind raced through a dozen different responses, none of them seeming adequate for the situation. Zara, he finally managed, are you asking me to have sex with you? For science? The terminology you use is crude but essentially accurate, she replied, showing no embarrassment whatsoever. Though the Alterian equivalent would be neural physical bonding for research purposes. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling a headache forming. This is insane. I mean, we're different species. Is that even possible? Zara moved to his desk and picked up one of his programming books, flipping through it as she spoke. Alterian physiology is remarkably compatible with human anatomy, despite our obvious differences. Our scientists have studied human biology extensively since first contact. The physical act would be entirely possible and, according to our medical data, mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial, Marcus repeated weakly. Yes, Alterians possess certain abilities that can enhance the human nervous system during intimate contact. You would likely experience pleasure far beyond normal human parameters. Marcus stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over his chair. Okay, this is way too much information. I need some air. He walked to the window and looked out at the city lights below. The world had changed so much since the aliens arrived 5 years ago. What had started as humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence had evolved into cultural exchange programs, interspecies cooperation, and apparently, research that pushed boundaries he had never considered. Have I caused you distress? Zara asked, her voice softer now. That was not my intention. Marcus turned back to face her. Despite her alien appearance, there was something genuinely concerned in her expression. No, you haven't caused distress exactly. It's just, this is a pretty big request. Zara. It's not like asking me to explain how Netflix works. I understand that human mating rituals involve emotional complexity that my species does not typically experience, Zara said. If you require time to consider this request, I can wait. However, my research deadline is in 14 standard days. 14 days, Marcus repeated. And if I say no, then I must find another suitable human subject. Though I calculate that process would be significantly more difficult and less likely to yield quality data. Marcus found himself in perhaps the strangest situation of his life. His alien roommate, who he had grown genuinely fond of over the past months, was asking him to help her complete her research in the most intimate way possible. The logical part of his mind was screaming that this was a terrible idea. But another part, a part he was trying to ignore, was curious about what she had meant by pleasure far beyond normal human parameters. Can I ask you something? Marcus said, of course. Do Alterians feel attraction, desire, or is this purely academic for you? Zara set down the book and studied him carefully. Alterians experience something analogous to what humans call attraction, though it manifests differently. We are drawn to compatible neural patterns and emotional stability, rather than physical appearance. By those standards, I find you quite appealing. The admission hung in the air between them, adding another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation. I need time to think about this, Marcus said finally. Zara nodded. That is reasonable. I will await your decision. As she glided silently back toward her room, Marcus called out, Zara? She paused and looked back. Just so I'm clear, this would be a one-time thing for your research, right? Something flickered across her alien features that he couldn't quite interpret. That would depend entirely on the results of the initial study. After she disappeared into her room, Marcus slumped back into his chair, staring at the closed door. His quiet life as a software developer had just become infinitely more complicated.